I had always believed that silence was safer than honesty. On Outpost Virex 9, silence kept humans alive. We were guests here, refugees, traders, mechanics, allowed to exist on the fringes of a civilization far older and stronger than ours. The Calarian Union didn't hate humans, but they didn't need us either. That made us disposable. So when I met Sayla, I kept my heart locked away. She was Calarian, tall and willowy, with opalescent skin that shifted colors depending on her emotions. Her eyes, too large by human standards, reflected light like twin moons. She worked as a xenobiology archivist in the lower rings of the station, cataloging species long extinct. I was a maintenance technician, fixing power relays and life support systems that no one else wanted to touch. We met because a coolant line ruptured near the archive vaults. I expected shouting, accusations, maybe even a formal complaint. Instead, I found Sayla kneeling beside the leak, holding a cracked conduit steady with her bare hands, her skin glowing faint blue from the cold. "You shouldn't touch that," I said, rushing forward. "It'll freeze your—" "I know," she replied calmly, "but the specimens will die if the temperature drops." That was the first thing she taught me about herself. Sayla always chose others before herself. Over the following cycles, our paths crossed again and again. She'd bring me nutrient tea when I worked late. I'd stay an extra hour to recalibrate her archive's shielding. We talked about small things at first, music, gravity differences, the absurdity of station food, but slowly, deeper topics crept in. She told me about her people's strict emotional codes, about how Calarians viewed attachment as dangerous, destabilizing. Bonds were regulated. Cross-species relationships were complicated. I didn't tell her how my chest tightened every time she smiled. I didn't tell her that when she laughed, an unfamiliar, musical sound among her kind, I felt like I discovered something sacred. And I definitely didn't tell her that I was falling in love with her. The Middle Ring Festival changed everything. Once every local year, Virex 9 dimmed its artificial lights to simulate night, and species from across the Union gathered to share art, memory threads, and stories. Humans were allowed to attend, though we were rarely the focus. Sayla asked me to come with her. Not as a technician, she said, her skin shifting to a soft lavender. Nervousness I'd learned. As company. I agreed before my fear could stop me. The festival was overwhelming. Bioluminescent banners floated through the air. Alien instruments hummed with frequencies I felt in my bones. Sayla moved beside me gracefully, explaining customs, translating gestures. For a while, I forgot I was human in a place not meant for me. Then we reached the Pool of Reflections, a Calarian ritual space where individuals shared truths they had long suppressed. Sayla stopped. "This is where I must go," she said quietly. "You may wait." I watched her step into the glowing pool, her reflection fracturing into 1,000 shimmering selves. Calarians took this ritual seriously. To bear one's inner truth was to risk social consequence, even exile. That's when I realized something terrifying. If I didn't speak now, I never would. When she emerged, her glow was different, brighter, but unstable. Emotional exposure did that. "Sayla," I said, my voice shaking. "There's something I need to tell you." Her eyes widened slightly. "This is not a human ritual space." "I know, but if I wait any longer, I'll lose the courage." The station noise faded into nothing. My heart pounded so hard I thought she could hear it. "I care about you," I said. "More than a friend. More than is logical. I know your people don't approve, and I know I'm just a human technician who fixes broken systems, but you've changed me. You make this place feel like home. And if saying this costs me your friendship, I'll accept that. I swallowed. I finally spoke my heart. For a long moment, Sayla said nothing. Her skin shifted rapidly, colors I couldn't name. Calarians processed emotion visually, and what I saw terrified me. Conflict. Fear. Something like longing. I braced myself for rejection. Then she stepped closer. You misunderstand, she said softly. I was not silent because I felt nothing. My breath caught. I was silent because I felt too much, she continued. My people teach us that uncontrolled attachment leads to suffering, that love across species ends in grief. Humans age too fast. You die too easily. Her words hurt, but they were honest. She reached out, hesitating before placing her hand against my chest, just above my heart. But during the reflection, she said, I admitted a truth I have avoided for many cycles. I would rather suffer loss than live without choosing. My eyes burned. So you're saying? I am saying, Sayla replied, her glow settling into a warm, steady gold, that you were brave enough to speak first. And I will not reject that courage. Relief crashed over me so hard my knees nearly gave out. The consequences came swiftly. Within days, Sayla was summoned before the Calarian Council. Cross-species emotional bonding required evaluation. Humans were not considered permanent beings. I was questioned, scanned, warned. They told me loving her would shorten her social standing. They told her loving me would shorten her future. We chose each other anyway. The middle of our story was not easy. There were stares, whispers, denied access to certain districts. I took extra shifts to prove my worth. Sayla resigned from her archive position and began independent research instead. But there were victories too. We learned each other's biology. I learned how to read her colors the way humans read expressions. She learned that humans love fiercely because our time is short. Months passed, then years. The union changed slowly, but it did change. Other mixed bonds appeared. Humans were no longer seen as temporary novelties, but as beings capable of depth and loyalty. Sayla published research on emotional resonance across species, citing our bond as a case study. And then came the final test. A deep space anomaly threatened Virex 9. Evacuation protocols favored Union species first. Humans were scheduled for later extraction, a delay that would likely kill thousands. Sayla stood before the council once more. If humans are expendable, she said, her glow blazing white-hot, then so am I. Because my future is bound to one of them. The council revised the protocol. For the first time in Union history, humans were evacuated first, not out of pity, but recognition. We survived. Years later, standing on a newly founded mixed-species colony world, I held Sayla's hand beneath a real sky for the first time. Stars burned above us, silent witnesses. I'm glad you spoke your heart, she said. So am I replied. Because sometimes the bravest thing a human can do in a vast, uncaring universe is love honestly. And sometimes the alien girl doesn't reject you.